Definitely. So how have you been? You're always busy, Mark. I always see you on the internet. You're always trending. How's life going for you at the moment?
Well, this is my 12th year speaking at schools and churches and corporations all over the world. And they say when you find your passion, you never have to work. So I guess I've been unemployed for 12 years.
You're living the dream, but like you're touching so many people. There's so many people, you've inspired. What's it like to do something you love and to help people?
Jerry, there's no greater joy in my life than helping someone else. Especially we get well over 100 letters a day on people that said it changed or even saved their life. So it's a real blessing to know that we're having such an impact on so many people.
Definitely. And Mark, how did it come about first day? Because we know you, from the late 80s and 90s through your wrestling and, your great career. But how did all that come about first day for you?
Well, Jerry, there's two types of people. There's people that say something needs to be done, and then this person says, I want to go out there and do something. And I'll be honest, for many years of my life, I was always saying, why don't they do this about this or do this about that? Sitting back doing nothing myself. And I realized that, we all have a voice. We all have a story. We all have something that has made an impact on our life. And I realized that I just wanted to share my story and hopefully help someone else maybe going through something that I went through, but never realizing that it would just snowball into this amazing company and presentation that we're going. We did the last 2 years, we did 550 events.
That's amazing. And like the schools, I'm always seeing the teenagers in general, because I suppose at such a young age when you're a teenager, you're always going to be maybe confused or there might be some issues in your life. But, what's it like to talk to the kids and the teenagers?
It's funny, Jerry, like when I first started this, I thought, man, I can only do this for a couple of years. Nobody's going to listen to a guy over 50 years old, And I got to tell you, I have never connected better with students than I do right now. It's absolutely incredible to connect with these middle, high school, college age students that are just enthralled with the presentation. And it's amazing because one of my favorite things to do is after a presentation is meet with students. And my gosh, the floodgates open up. The kids are apologizing to each other. We're hearing stories of going through how they can my story. And I think they really like me because I'm really open about my life. I'm not pulling no punches. And kids can see right through the BS. You know what I mean? They can see through someone that's just up there going, here's your brain on drugs. They just tune out to that stuff.
And like, Mark, you've had an incredible life today. Like you're still, enjoying life. You're making the most of life. But, in the early days, like you were, obviously we're going to talk a bit about the boxing. I heard you were a very tasty boxer, but you've had an incredible story throughout the years. But tell us about the early days, like when you were in school in general, was it all football for you and boxing, or did you have other interests as well?
Well, actually, Jared, my first love at that time was hockey.
Yeah.
I was a junior hockey player, top hockey player, and I had at that time I had the most penalty minutes in the season. I was fighting all the time, so in the off season I would go to the boxing gym to work on my fighting.
Yeah. And
didn't realize that boxing would take off like that. In my first year in boxing, I won the New York State Golden Gloves tournament, and I won it a few times. And then, of course, making it to the USA boxing team and doing really well in boxing. But football was another one of my loves. I mean, hockey, football, and boxing was the three sports I was playing and doing in high school.
And like you basically you could have gone professional. There was obviously shouts there for you to go professional. Was it a tough decision to kind of opt away from that, or at that time were you saying I wanted to be a professional? Was it one of them teams you just kind of had to leave go?
Well, Jerry, I fell in love with boxing. I mean, boxing was like, what I loved about boxing because it was one-on-one. It was like do or die. You had no teammates to have to depend on or anything. And I just remember thinking, gosh, I'm doing so well at this. I'm going to be a champion of the world someday, So I really went for it. And unfortunately, that's part of my story is just making bad choices after an injury in boxing and then taking time off and never coming back to being the fighter I once was. Yeah. And then just many, many years of drug abuse and addiction. And but you know what? I look at all the paths I took in my life and I think about how many people it's helping now. My test that I was going through is actually my testimony now that I share with the world.
And like, as I said, like, I'll always remember you in the 90s, you know, on our TV screens as, you know, first of all, the physique. It still looks like you're in great shape, but that physique, first of all, was incredible. What was it like to be such a big wrestler and, you know, to be on screens all around the world?
Oh my gosh. You know, I remember when I first became a professional wrestler, when I made it and signed my first contract, how excited I was, you know, knowing that I'm going to be one of those guys I'd watch on television, you know. And then, of course, my first overseas trip was to England and then Ireland. You know, we wrestled in Belfast, and I remember we were staying at, it was one of the things I remember about Ireland. We stayed at a hotel that they had a plaque that said the Guinness Book of World Records most bombed hotel.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what the heck? You know, but what a joy it was to be over in England and Ireland, and things like pictures that you'd see on television, you know, and then you'd see it live in person, you know, and some of the old castles that we got to see and some of the cool scenery. And it's one of the most beautiful countries. I remember flying in and saying, my gosh, look how green this place is, you know?
No, it is amazing. Like, I'm looking at the pictures on the wall behind you. Obviously, you appreciate your time in wrestling. I can see all that memorabilia in the back. For you, what was it like working with, you know, the World Wrestling Federation? Because, you know, you made such a name there, and we all remember you to this day. You know, we hope, you know, like there's maybe a Hall of Fame show in a couple of years. But what was it like to wrestle, you know, with so many great wrestlers and be around so many cool people?
You know, Jerry, I think I was in wrestling at probably the best time. It was the Attitude Era, you know, and we had WCW wrestling and WWE wrestling, and we had the Monday Night Wars. I mean, as a wrestling fan, there was no better time because you just switched the channel from one to the other to see who was on, you know. But I remember being, you know, in the locker room and looking around, and you have Triple H, you have The Undertaker, you had The Rock, you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, Shawn Michaels, you know, D-Generation X. I mean, these are the guys that I was wrestling with and against at that time, you know. And at that time, you don't think of it as, like, this is the pinnacle of one of the best times ever to be in the sport, you know. So I look back now with just a lot of fond memories, you know. I mean, we all go through stuff in life that we could pick and choose what we enjoy. And I always like to look at the bright side of things, the fun part of what we did, and the joy that I got to go all over the world and meet so many people, and now meeting people today that say, you know, they saw me back then, they were going through a hard time or whatever, and then the wrestling helped them get through something, you know?
Definitely. And if you could just answer one question for our Phil, he's a big fan here. He said, if you had one of your greatest achievements in wrestling, so like out of all the years you wrestled, if you could pick one, what would be your greatest achievement in the wrestling industry?
Well, that's a great question, Jerry. I mean, I had some. Luckily, I got to wrestle some of the best wrestlers in the world. You know, so I think about some of the matches I had that were, you know, standout matches against whether it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, the late Flying Brian Pillman, one of my good buddies, Diamond Dallas Page. You know, we wrestled hundreds of times. You know, and it was always fun to wrestle because, man, I got to tell you something. He was the closest guy to being into an actual real fight because he just went all out, and I loved it, man. Because I was always a tough guy too, and I enjoyed wrestling with him. But I guess if you had to look back at one time where you said this is like you made it, I guess was when I won the Intercontinental title. Yeah. You know, I had to beat Owen Hart, I had to beat Stone Cold Steve Austin. I had to beat Ron Simmons, you know, to Farouk at the time, to win the title. So going through those guys to win the title in the tournament was a big, just an exciting time in my life.
Well, we appreciate that. Now, the main thing is we want to see you back on the Green Isles next year. Do you reckon we can get you over here for some, you know, motivational talks? Is there something in the pipeline to maybe do stuff in Europe next year?
You know, Jerry, that would be a dream come true. You know, I wrestled over there, but there would be no greater joy than coming over there and inspiring students and families out there in Ireland and speaking at venues and schools and in churches or whoever will have me. Yeah. But that's something we're working on, and I hope anyone that maybe listens to this interview will reach out to us, and maybe they know schools, or they have connections with schools or people that can help facilitate this and make it become a reality, because I tell you, we're going to change and even save some kids' lives.
Well, we're going to definitely push it. We're going to try and make it happen, and it's something that's definitely needed here, because unfortunately there's a lot of crazy stuff that, you know, it happens all around the world, but people just need to maybe open their eyes at times and, you know everything's going to be okay, and it's okay not to be okay. Any other projects in 2019 you can maybe hint? Any other, maybe another book or something like that?
Well, you know, Jerry, I got an amazing life story, and I'm really hoping that there's going to be a movie made of that someday. And we've actually talked to some people, and there's been some scripts written. There was 2 scripts written, and I did not approve either one of them, because they changed my story too much, and I want my story to be authentic. Like when I tell my story at a school or a venue, there's so much emotion involved with it, with the audience, and I want that same emotion to carry on to a theater or when it's at a movie. So I'll be patient with that. So that's something that may happen, but you know, I'm just looking forward to continue doing what I love. It's making a difference in someone else's life. There's so many people today that are going through some really hard times, you know, and you know, with the opiate explosion that's happening across our country, I'm sure that the drug addiction that's happening all over the world, and students that feel hopeless or suicidal. Suicide is just running rampant. You know, young people that are killing themselves and such, you know, for you know, the depression, anxiety. I want to make a difference. I want people to hear my story, that I overcame that. There was a time I didn't want to be here anymore. I understand it. And you know, when you could look in someone's eyes and you say, I know what you're feeling, I know what you're going through, and you really mean it, they feel it, and they feel they can talk to you and open up. I want people to know that they matter, that life can get better, but but you can't give up. You can't just end it. And I know we can make a difference. So coming to an Ireland, like I said, would be a dream come true.
We're definitely going to push, and I'm sure it's going to happen. Marc, it's an absolute honor to speak to you today. You're one of my heroes, so I really appreciate it. And we're going to talk to you, no doubt, throughout the next couple of weeks and months, and hopefully we'll see you back on the Green Isles next year.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. You are awesome, man. I look forward to shaking your hand in person, man, and hanging out.
Definitely. Thank you, Marc. And listen, we'll talk to you soon. You're an absolute legend.